So my name's Dave Anthony, and I'm the writer and director of Black Ops 2, and we're here at Treyarch in sunny Santa Monica. So working with David Goyer on Black Ops 2 has just been an amazing experience. I could tell you how I sort of first got to working with David Goyer. Towards the end of the first Black Ops game, I was looking for a consultant to help me with the story because we were kind of jumping around time all over the place. It was pretty complicated. And I came up with this list of like 30 different people I wanted to work with, and David Goyer was at the top of the list. And I never thought in a million years I'd get the chance to work with him. You know, because I'm like, David Goyer, yeah, right, they're going to be sat in a room with him. And it was literally, I can tell you, this room we're sat in right now, I was sat with him 72 hours after having that list, talking to him about the story. And we both had a great time working on that game. And even before the first Black Ops was finished, we were talking about what we were going to do with Black Ops 2. Because we loved the characters from the first Black Ops game, and we wanted to continue the story of what's happened to these guys. So in terms of the ambition of what the story is for Black Ops 2, this is where working with David Goyer was just made things so much easier, because we approached some pretty ambitious stuff. We decided we were going to do a branching story, which I can tell you for a first-person shooter, particularly in the vein of Call of Duty, where it's very, very heavily action-packed and fast-paced, is a pretty risky thing to do. But because, you know, David's so smart and so experienced, I mean, he's been in the movie business for 20 years, and you look at some of the stuff he's done. You know, he's been involved in the Blade franchise, he's co-written all of the new Batman movies, he just finished writing Superman. It's like, this guy's a genius at what he does. And for him to be involved in the project right from the start gave us the confidence that we could be really ambitious with branching storylines, and also, and to me one of the most exciting parts of the project, is the villain, Raul Menendez, who the goal from day one was to make him the most compelling villain that we've ever seen in Call of Duty. And again, David, being on board from the start, we knew we could attack problems like that with confidence.
Now, speaking of the villain, why did you decide to spend so much focus on Raul Menendez? Because
we have to, and this is a question that we ask at the start of a project. I'm always thinking about what is going to be new and interesting for people to play in this game. What's going to be a reason for them to come back to the franchise? Because there's so many different entertainment options these days for people. We never take that for granted at Treyarch. And I'm not just talking about me, I'm talking about the whole team, and I'm so proud of how they do that. It's like they're not going to let go of anything. Never happy with anything we've done. Always want to try and make it better. So we looked at the story, and when I sat down with David, it's like, what are we going to do in terms of character development? Take a leap from what we did on the first Black Ops game, in which we did some pretty ambitious stuff in that one too, but we wanted to take it a step further. So we thought, let's create a villain who, it's not going to be your sort of cardboard cutout, two-dimensional, want to take over the world and dominate everything villain. It's actually going to be a human being, somebody that you can actually relate to and understand on a human level. So the way we actually crafted the story was, right from the very beginning, you even see him as a little boy. And then when you're playing the game, you actually meet him within the game and you experience things with him, and you actually start to see how he's being shaped. And because you actually understand who he is as a human being, you start to empathize with him. And then we sort of catapult you into the future in 2025. And this guy that you've kind of, you know, he's charismatic and you've come to like him, you then go to 2025 where you see what he's capable of. So you kind of see how the monster's created in the past, and you see what he's capable of in the future. You're in a real conflict because you've built an affinity with this guy. And now you're seeing him do all this stuff, and then you actually find out, thanks to the branching story elements, you have potentially control over what happens to him. And it really messes with you.
And how did the setting of 2025 and the backstory of the 1980s impact the game's storytelling?
Very, very significantly. So the timeline was actually very carefully designed to juxtapose two Cold Wars. So when you first play the game in the late 1980s, you're actually playing as Alex Mason, who was the player character from the first Black Ops game, played by Sam Worthington, who I'm so proud of his performance. He's just hit it out of the park on this one. And you play the game through his eyes. And you see how the first Cold War we're towards the end of that. And the juxtaposition is, you see how wars are fought back in those days, which is traditionally, rows and rows of people sort of on a battlefield slaughtering each other. Then we catapult you to 2025, where you're actually playing as Alex Mason's son, David Mason. And now you're seeing how wars are fought in the future. And it's a really different feel to how you used to play in a Call of Duty game. It's still boots on the ground, and it's still all the kind of mechanics that you're familiar with. But we're presenting so many new types of gameplay opportunity. To give you a very specific example, we have these new types of gameplay levels called Strike Force levels, where traditional campaign level, you're used to, playing as one character. Well, it could be Alex Mason. You'd be on a cinematic scripted path. In the Strike Force levels, you can actually play any character on the battlefield. You can take control of any vehicle or any drone or any piece of technology that is live and active on that battlefield. You can actually go into this thing we call the tactical view, where you can control the whole battlefield from this sort of godlike position where you're looking down on the battlefield and you have control over platoons and drones, and it's just a completely different way of thinking about how you play this game. But for the people who still want the sort of core mechanics and play in first person, you can play this mode completely from first person, but still have control of the entire battlefield from that view.